Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I am Clay Morris, the illuminated dark man, according to my name, and I am here on Sports Wednesday, Raising Grace Sportsnet, April 9th, 2025. Some hip hop music, supposedly from Restream. Well, if that's hip music, we'll take it. We'll take it. It's good enough. Um, Good afternoon. Actually, it's good afternoon. April 9th, 2025, year of our Lord. And let's start it off, as we always do, with the prayer, a prayer that, well, you remember that old prayer, peace in the Middle East? I don't remember it either, but I'm sure that's a prayer that's been going around forever and ever and ever, and I think we're still wishing for it. What I am going to look for is a prayer from something else. We're going to find a prayer that we can use for this particular time until my darling wife brings down my prayer book. Isn't that something? I need a prayer book here. But we're going to start off. This is called a thankful prayer. Dear God, I thank you for my wife, Lord. I thank you for our good times and the rough times. I thank you for growing and molding her into the persevering, resourceful woman that she is. Please continue to bless her in all ways, Lord, for in doing so, you are blessing me. Lord God, I thank you for so many things. I believe in you. I believe you are the one who created the universe, and through you, all things will work for good. I beseech you to bless my children. Bless all of my children. Bring them into a bountiful life and an abundant life. Bring them into a prosperous life. And more importantly than any of all that, bring them into a peaceful, happy life. Okay? Deliver them from the devil and the demons and bring them to the peace that cannot be found in anywhere else but in you. I thank you, Lord, because I woke up in a warm bed in a heated house, and that's more than enough. But I'm here to do your will. So move me as you want to move me, so that I can promote the gospel of Jesus Christ and that all men can be saved from the devil and his demons. I'm here to do your will, Lord, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Amen. All right. Thank you very much for letting me get that out there. And I mean every bit of it. Every bit. If not, I mean over the top, mean it and really mean it. So let's get into what we have for today. Today, birthdays. Birthdays, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to play for you a birthday ditty that I made with a
Happy birthday, all. Happy
friend of mine that I
birthday, all.
believe that we can get back on the air one day. Mr. Eric James.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All you people.
All you people.
Happy birthday to you.
Guys, listen to those voices. Can you? You ever hear anything so melodic and so harmonious? Obviously, not. And you're probably not waiting to hear something like that again anytime soon. But let's move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's birthdays that we're talking about, we have to talk about a very important person. Yes, a very important person in Celtics lore. And his name is Jack Nichols. Jack Nichols. I'm sure most of you are going, oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. The guy you never heard of. But Jack Nichols plays a very important role in the early Celtics dynasty. See, Jack had been around the league for a period of time. And let me just get into his biography so that we'll know more about him. Jack Nichols was born in Washington. And where about? Parts unknown. I have not been able to find out where exactly in the state of Washington he was born. But he went to the he went to the University of Washington and the University of Southern California. How that worked, I'm not too sure. He's a 6'7" power forward and played 9 seasons in the National Basketball Association as a member of the Washington Capitals, the Tri-City Blackhawks, the Milwaukee Hawks, and finally for the best franchise that ever lived, the Boston Celtics. Now, Jack scored 5,245 points, give or take, in his career, and he was a contributor to the Celtics in the early years of the organization. He was a guy who was on the 1957 NBA championship team. That's right. He was on that team. The first year the Bill Russell came, and he was coached by his former coach in Washington when he played with the Washington Capitals. Was that the name of it? Yeah, called the Washington Capitals. Red Auerbach. Now, before Russell's arrival, Nichols averaged 14 points and 14 rebounds per game. That was 1955-56. Then when Bill Russell came, 1956-57, he averaged 8 points and 6 rebounds per game. But they won the championship. In other words, this guy was an important cog in the wheel of Russell's growth. And he played one more year after that. One more year. They went to the finals again that year, the 57-58 season, and they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. And that was it. That was it for Mr. Jack Nichols. Because after that, you would have to say to Jack Nichols, you would have to call him Dr. Nichols. Why? Because he became a doctor of dentistry. In his last 3 years that he was with the Boston Celtics, he was studying dentistry at Tufts Medical School, dental medical school, and he became a doctor, a dentist. And after that, when he retired, he went out to Washington once again, and he was the University of Washington's dentist, as well as the Seattle Supersonics dentist, team dentist. So he did quite well for himself, and he is a story unto itself because it shows you the type of people and personnel that Red Auerbach looked for when he was with the Celtics, the type of people that he wanted, the type of people that he went for, guys that not only played basketball, but could hold their own on and off the court and become doctors. And that's the story of of Dr. Let me change the picture here. We're going to have another picture. That's the story of Dr. Jack Nichols for the Boston Celtics. Way back when, in the way back when machine. There we go. Okay. Now that we got birthdays out the way, let's move on to something that might be dear and near to your heart if you're a Celtics fans. Well, and even if you're not. The Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets, ladies and gentlemen, you probably could count them out right now as possible contenders for the NBA championship with 3 games to go. Why? Because Denver's owners, Stan and Josh Kroenke, I think really Stan's the owner, he's the father, and Josh is the son, he runs it. So they fired general manager Calvin Booth and coach Mark Malone 3 games before the end of the season and the beginning of the playoffs. Now, Calvin Booth and Mark Malone, they've been butting heads about, well, who should play? Now, because Calvin Booth was the GM and Mark Malone was the coach. So Calvin Booth was the guy who was drafting the players for the last 3 years, and Mark Malone was supposed to be playing them, but it wasn't working out that way. And since they were butting heads and battling over it, it really got ugly. And they've won some games and lost some games, but recently they've lost 4 in a row. That's right, 4 in a row. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So, well, something had to give. Conventional wisdom would have been to eliminate Calvin Booth immediately. He's the GM, okay? And the season's practically over. You don't need a GM in the playoffs. There's going to be no deals made, nothing happening in the playoffs. So he's not necessary. Conventional wisdom would have been, okay, you let Booth go and you keep Malone. And you ride it out through the rest of the playoffs. That's smart. That's the smart way of doing it. But that's not the way the Kroenkes did it. No. They bucked conventional wisdom. They said, no way. we're the new thing, and we don't have to listen to that. They fired both of them on the same day. Now, that left David Andelman. Yeah, Andelman. That name might sound familiar. There was a Rick Andelman. That was his father, David's father. David Andelman is now the coach, and you say why? Well, because he was the assistant coach when they fired Mark Malone. Because he was the assistant coach when they fired Mark Malone, he became the head coach as by default, and that's why he is. But David Andelman does not have any NBA experience. Does it matter, ladies and gentlemen? Doesn't matter? Of course it matters. Of course it matters, and it's going to be hard to replace the guy, Mark Malone, who was there when these players were brought onto the team. He's been there 10 years. I think he's been there longer than any of the players. So he's been there all of this time. He's been the guy that they've listened to, the guy that they've, uh, you know, game in and game out, practice and practice out. This was their guy, and now he's gone. And well, there's a new guy there, David Andelman. And will they listen to him? Well, well, let's just say the Cronkies think that they're in a better position with this one. Whether they whether they underestimated Malone and overestimated Andelman, we don't know. Okay, but I think here's what I think. I think it's going to be an immediate disaster. Okay, I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs. Because it's going to be hard listening to this guy and following his instructions and knowing what he really wants, despite what he's saying. He could say what he wants, or he could be saying this and really wants something else. They won't know that because he's new. And I don't think they're going to respond well in this situation. So I think it's going to be immediate disaster. I think it's going to be a very quick playoff trip for the Denver Nuggets. But with that being said, there's one thing I want to add. Okay, you know, Calvin Booth, was he mediocre? Did he? Yeah, he deserved to go. But other than Brad Stevens, there's nobody out there in the NBA general manager in that title that's really working. I mean, and I mean, unless you're the Lakers, where you don't really even have to do anything, and the NBA brings you proposals in order to try to get you over the top. The Luka Doncic thing, before that, the Anthony Davis thing, all kinds of trades going back and forth that only seem to end up with the Lakers, even though it hasn't done them any good. They're still like, bottom of the barrel. I mean, well, they're not the bottom of the barrel. They're right middle and at the top. So, but unless you're that guy, those guys, as a general manager, nobody's doing much in the NBA. It's mediocrity. So, Calvin Booth, you have a lot of company in mediocrity. You didn't get much done, but then again, the only person I see getting anything done is Brad Stevens, who should be the executive of the year again this year. And the people that he's able to bring in, even though it doesn't look like it's really, paying these guys on jumping over skyscrapers and lighting up the city with points and lighting up the games. Xavier Tillman, Torrey Craig, guys that come off the bench and are dependable. Nemias Queta, Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchett, Sam Hauser. These are guys that Brad Stevens has gone out and combed and gotten and made it work. And working with Joe Mazzulla, and before that, the guy who's in Houston right now, Ime Udoka, working with these guys and bringing these guys along. So it's obvious something had to be done, but you would think they would still keep the coach and have some sort of continuity going into the playoffs. My guess is that they're blowing this thing up big time, and it's just starting with the coaching and the GM as of right now. So, good luck. Good luck, Denver, and happy trails to Calvin Booth and Mark Malone. Moving along. Be afraid. Be very afraid, NBA world, because the Celtics are firing on all cylinders. Last night, they defeated the New York Knicks for the fourth time in a row. That's right. They beat them in New York City on the court of Madison Square Garden in front of New York Knicks fans. They defeated the New York Knicks in overtime. They beat them. Yes. Swept them. Swept the series. And Kristaps Porzingis had 34 points. Jason Tatum had 32 points. Drew Holiday had 16, and Derek White had 14. The Celtics essentially won the game without Jaylen Brown. That's right, without Jaylen Brown really playing. Because Jaylen Brown, who should have been shut down a week ago, continues to limp up and down the court with a bad knee. Why? Because he's trying to reach some game threshold in which he qualifies for some award. I'm not sure what it is, so I'm not going to throw it out there. But yeah, he's out there, but he's not really out there, but he's out there. And he had 6 points in 22 minutes. In the 22 minutes that he was out there, and he looked like crap the whole time. Yeah. Well, yes, the Celtics beat the Knicks without one of their main players, Jaylen Brown, actually playing. What does that mean? Well, it's bad news for the Knicks. But New York gave maximum effort. Yes, New York did. They gave maximum effort. And in light of Brown's selfishness and his 6 points, they should have won the game. They should have, could have, would have won the game. But in this gladiator race, New York does not have the horses to compete with the Boston Celtics because the Celtics have a GM named Brad Stevens who goes out and gets players to win. And it was a shortened bench. They only played eight players: Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, and what's it? Did I say Peyton Pritchett? Yeah, Peyton Pritchett, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett off the bench. Everyone else sat down. They shortened the rotation, and they still won the game. Go figure that. New York, you got to think about it. Close but no cigar. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's more. Based on the standings, the New York Knicks will have to play the Detroit Pistons in the first round matchup. That could very well be the last round matchup. Detroit is a team to be feared. They may be green, and the Knicks' best case scenario is that they get them out of the playoffs quickly, 5 games or less, because if it goes 7 games, if this series goes 7 games, Detroit will have the confidence and the experience to beat New York. And if it goes 7 games, I'm willing to say Detroit will beat them if it goes 7 games, because Detroit is a hungry team, and they're a talented team, and they're a young team, and that could spell bad news for the Knicks. Speaking of players taking the night off, as Jaylen Brown did the other night and has for the past 2 weeks, actually. I think he's had one good game in those 2 weeks, and the rest of the performances that he's had out there have been suspect, to say the least. Probably should not be out there. But speaking of selfishness, Luka Doncic. Yes, Luka Doncic. Let me see if I can get something on Luka up here. Luka Doncic. Oh, yeah, that's when he was a Maverick. Let's see. Oh, there he is as a Laker, complaining. That very same Luka Doncic that you see right there was thrown out of the game for arguing with a fan. Yes, arguing with a fan. Thrown out of the game. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the one and same Luka who did these very same things ad infinitum when he was with the Dallas Mavericks. While playing for Dallas, Luka argued with NBA referees. He argued with his coaches, his teammates, the fans at the stadium. He argued with the fans online. He argued with the ball boys, the beer and hot dog sellers. He argued with anything that moved and did not move, as long as it was it was something that he could complain to or at. Now, this very same Luka Doncic, uh, should we have expected anything, well, different when he got with the Lakers? No, no. We shouldn't have expected anything different. And it brings me to this point. The reason why Dallas was more than willing to dump Luka into the lap of the Lakers GM LeBron James because of his attitude and his behavior. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Luka Doncic, who is undoubtedly one of the great talents in the NBA right now, is a complainer. He just complains all the time. I have a chat here. Somebody should I answer the chat? Why not? Let's answer the chat here. Yes. Hello, sir. Abril, how you doing? Since you can hear me and I can hear you, but if you you can email me. This is a guy that I work with, and he does things with the channel. He probably wants to chime in and say how great he is, and I should bring him on. I should bring him on so he can be part of the action. And but we'll see what. Well, he hasn't replied, so we're good. It just goes to show nothing's going to change, and this is the reason why Dallas wanted to get out from under Luka, because this is the behavior that he showed. Now, this is a conundrum that is arising in the NBA right now on the Lakers team. And that conundrum is that you got two of the worst complainers in the NBA on the same team. You have Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Which one can whine and moan and groan and complain and crop more? I don't know. I mean, it's up in the air. I mean, LeBron does it, but he doesn't get thrown out. But he does it just as much as Luka does. And believe me, he's always looking for a call here and there. The two of them together. I mean, this is getting to be. Is this satire? Is this supposed to be real, or is this really becoming the WWE, ladies and gentlemen? Is any of it real? How is this happening? That the two most complaining players in the league are playing on the same team. Does anybody think this is worth watching? Well, NBA, we'll see what happens. Now, in addition to that, there's more. Not only the most complaining duo, they are the worst defensive duo in the league. The two of them they elbow each other to see who can leak out. They try to steal out, for a possible fast break while their other teammates are playing defense. Yes, they have no shame. None whatsoever. Defense? Defense? Are you kidding me? LeBron James or Luka Doncic defense? No, ladies and gentlemen, it won't be long. It won't be long before the NBA will compete with the WWE for comedy lines. We'll have LeBron James saying, "I play defense. I've always played defense. I'm playing defense right now." We'll have Luka Doncic saying, "I play defense better than him. How dare he say that he beats me at playing defense? I played defense when he was in diapers," and it could just go on and on and on. The braggadocio, falseness narrative of it all, of what's going on in Los Angeles. And I would say Los Angeles fans deserve better. But many of you guys actually wanted. No, I'm not going to say that. Most of you guys did not want LeBron, LeBrick, LaFraud James there. But Magic Johnson thought it was a good idea. And this is what you guys have been dealing with for the past, 6 years, going on 7 years? Actually, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I don't know how you're taking it. But you can always become Celtics fans, because remember, you wanted to be with the greatest franchise of all time, and that is the Boston Celtics. And you know what? We'll welcome you here, because we know you do have a history of winning. Let's face it, okay? You had Kareem, you had Magic, you had Wilt, you had Shaq, you had Kobe. You do have a history of winning. so we understand. Come on over for a little while until the stench has cleared and all the craziness is gone, and then you can go back to being Lakers fans once again. That's my advice. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, the Boston Red Sox. Yes, my guys. My guys, the Red Sox, the ones I predicted would win the championship. Well, I predicted that at the beginning of the season. Yes, I did. And NBA is also famous in Bangladesh. Yes, I have people in Bangladesh. Thank you very much. Now, if I can just speak Bengalis, I'd be all right, because then I could broadcast this in English and Bengalis. And, I'd really have this down. What I need is an interpreter. You know what? That's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a guy who's going to interpret here, and he's going to interpret. Is that possible? Because if it is, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I promise I will do it. But the Boston Red Sox, the team that I predicted would be in the World Series at the end of the season. And then 1 week later, I predicted they probably would be in last place by the end of the season. And let me tell you why. Because they start off, they won 1 game. Then they lost 4. Then they won 5. Then they've lost 2. I think that adds up to 12 games. In 12 games, they are 6-6, up and down, and I will give you my reasons why. Here's the reason why the Boston Celtics are not playing very well. But they're inconsistent. That's it. What else is there to say? They tried out a guy, Richard Fitz, as a starter. He's not a starter, okay? This guy is a reliever. Get him in some relief innings, but he gets out there and he loses a winnable game. They tried it out Garrett Crochet, who is a starter, but they signed him to a stupendous contract. A stupendous contract for a guy who's a number 1 guy. Garrett Crochet is not a number 1 guy. He's a number 2 guy, and he can go 5 innings before he loses it, which he did yesterday. He went 5 innings, and then all heck broke loose. That's right. He gave up 4 runs quick, fast, in a hurry, and they had to get him out. They lost that game 6-2, or they lost that game 6-1. He gave up 4 of those runs, all earned. No, I think one of them was unearned because there was an error by our third baseman there, Bregman. But other than that, listen, it's do they know what they're doing? When it comes to pitching, no, because they should have went out and got another pitcher to compete with Crochet to be number 1, to give him something to compete for. Right now, as the number 1 pitcher on that team, they're in trouble when he doesn't have anybody else who's going to challenge him for that role. And he can feel safe to be complacent, which is part of the problem with the whole team. Part of the problem with this team is complacency already. We have guys that are hitting very, very low, very, very low. Okay, Tristan Casas is hitting 179. Cedar Raphael is hitting 220 something. I know it's only 12 games into the season, but unless management shows some sort of urgency that they're willing to tell these guys, listen, we need you to produce. We need you to come out here and produce. Like, this is important to us. Unless they show that, then the players aren't going to feel it. They have guys in the minors who are ready to come up and work for these guys who aren't getting the hitting done, okay? And you're paying them anyway. So take the guys who aren't hitting, send them on the bench. Put these other guys out there and see if they can hit. And if they can, okay, you've taken a step in the right direction. You now have lit a fire underneath the guys who aren't doing it to get their act together. And so you've created competitiveness on the team, which dispels complacency. And this is what needs to happen if the Red Sox want to go forward. They have to develop an attitude of competitiveness, even in the clubhouse. Right now, everyone's getting paid millions and millions of dollars to feel nice and content. And that's the way they're playing, nice and content. There's no fire underneath the guys who are getting paid the money, none whatsoever. It's terrible. We'll see what happens. Right now, they're mediocre, just like the Yankees. As a matter of fact, the most mediocre team of the division, the Toronto Blue Jays, lead the division. That won't be long. They won't be there long. But what we're seeing is a bunch of overpaid, mediocre players. Good luck, Major League Baseball. We'll see what happens. Torpedo bats, you can use anything you get to get views now. Please, just do it, because the product that you're putting out on the field is lazy, okay, and complacent. That's the way it goes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. That's it in a nutshell. And those of us, those out there who were in the chat, thank you very much. Wow, there's a lot of chat. Wow, you know what? Listen, guys, I love it. By next week, you won't believe this. By next week, I'm going to be able to learn. I'm going to be able to respond to you in the chat by chatting with you. Okay, listen, this is all new to me. I'm getting this technology that is like growing. It's unbelievable. But I have this chat overlay now, and now I'm going to be able to respond to you in the chat. But I can respond to you vocally. Thank you to the Sporting page. Thank you to my guy's name that I really don't want to mess up, but he says they're famous in Bangladesh. We're famous in Bangladesh. And thank you to Abril Tassin, a guy I work with closely, who's very, very good at what he does. And he's tuned in, and he says, hello. Thank you very much for saying hello. But listen, we keep it real here, and we have a great time. I had a great time, and pretty soon I'm going to have it so that not only will you be able to chat, you will be able to call in. And you'll be able to call in, not just on Saturdays. You know, we have the radio show on Saturdays, WEZE, AM 590. The phone number is 844-249-5247. 844-249-5247. That is the call-in line to reach us on the radio. And if you call in, you will be on the radio also. 844-249-5247. But we're going to have it so they can call in on the Wednesday show and also let your voice be heard. Talk about your team, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the Celtics, whether it's the Houston Rockets, who look like they're doing pretty good, whether it's, that OKC, oh my gosh, whether it's OKC, who blew out the Lakers last night, as a matter of fact, in the game that Luka got tossed, whether you think the Clippers have a chance, if you're wondering why Chicago is still in the so-called playoff contention hunt, play-in, whatever they might want to call that thing, what you think the Knicks are, and what you think the Cavaliers? Do you think the Cavaliers really have a chance of getting past the Celtics, or does something have to happen to the Celtics in order for the Cavaliers to make it to the finals? I believe something would have to happen to the Celtics in order for the Cavaliers to make the finals. I don't know if they have enough horses in that gladiator race. Remember the Ben-Hur scene? Yeah, well, anyway, that's what I mean. But other than that, we're going to have it so that you can call in, and that way you can express a lot of the things that you think and your observations, because those are important. Everyone's observations has a different angle. I have my angle, and when you listen to observations from other people, they have different angles, and they all bring something to the conversation and to the topic. So I look forward to that. We'll have that ready for you next week. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. If you got anything else to say, you can leave it in the comments. But wait, there's more. No, not for today. It's not more today. But please leave your comments. And we're on X. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. Yeah, we're on all those things. Wherever you want to find us, you can find us. Like, subscribe, and comment. Like, subscribe, and comment. There's no charge for this. You're getting all of this for free. So like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good day, good afternoon. And we're going to play our bumper music going out, which I'm not going to play because the last time I tried to play this bumper music, they said, hey, you're in violation of something. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to play you my personal bumper music, which I'm going to put to a lofty, lo-fi hip hop type thing, which is Pomp and Circumstances. Yes, Pomp and Circumstances. Ladies and gentlemen, you take care of yourselves. Love you and goodbye. Wow, Hamza Chowdhury bringing Quinn Sullivan, who's an American son. Wow, I'm just getting all these comments in. I'm just going to have to hold off on this just a little bit. What do I think about the new journey of Bangladesh football? I think Bangladesh football is on their way. We'll see what happens in the upcoming FIFA Championship Cup, which we'll see if Chowdhury is going to be playing for Bangladesh. If he does, woo! Ladies and gentlemen, expect some sparks to fly. I expect good things to happen. And with that, I am out of here. Have a good day, everybody, and take care.